do 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 do. Right. I am just looking for my live. Hold on. Here we go. I can't see what you're saying, and I still haven't fixed the fucking chat because I've been... God, my hair looks terrible when it's wet. I look diabolically evil. Sorry, you can probably hear, what's it called? Fan sounds. That's actually not my computer for once. Also, is my vision blurry, or is this screen just blurry? Maybe I'm... What the fuck? Is this screen just blurry? Hello, everyone. Hello, McGee. Hello, everybody. Hello. Jumped up white boy here. I've been learning. I sat my white ass down and listened to Asmongold all day. Also, what do you want our journalist queen is going to fight for? What? Who is going to do that? Hi, chat. Hi, Chris. Hello, Eliza. Hello, Elab. Hello. I can't survive this fucking London heat. Yeah, I'm glad I don't live in London. It's 32 today. It's only 25 where I am. Not so hot. Still unbearable. It was unbearable yesterday. But how are you feeling today, Queen? I feel okay. I feel better. We've got some great topics. Elon Musk and Trump are beefing. Ethan is saying some shit about something, but I'm not really going to go into that. I mean, we can just start with that because it's probably a good gateway into what I want to talk about. Because a friend, Taylor Lorenz, was on... she was on Piers Morgan, and she was debating Israeli Arab, Hen Mazzig. No, he's not. He's an Iraqi Jewish person. And Ethan Klein told us, Taylor Lorenz is a total hack. This is her trademark move. Act obtuse when people accurately describe her views and outright lie and strawman your position to make it seem indefensible.
Unreasonably.
And then say something about her son, but the insinuation is her constantly making, Ethan constantly making out that she wants to fuck her. Fuck her son. That's really where the problem lies. I'm on the M4, but I had to tune in. Hello, James. Well, stay safe on the M4. Do not use your phone and drive, mate. Cannot encourage that. Not going to litigate this video, but I think that when making claims like this, 50% of the discourse on this app is Jew hate. It's extremely important to note that 99.9% of anti-Semitism on this app is from the far right / actual neo-Nazis who Musk has embraced, not communist TikTokers. And then he shared this, which I don't know if I want to watch this. Who is this guy? I don't think he was posting Jewish content. I think he was just in Israel trying Israeli food and going on about how good it is. That doesn't look... He's having Persian food there. I don't know if he was in Israel. I thought I saw him. Yeah, here you go.
I'm back in the States, and I can tell you this is what I've learned so far in my life, for sure. Mexico and Israel...
The mustache fell off due to the heat.
...have the best Coca-Cola in the glass.
Brilliant news. Yes, the Discord is pinned. Every time I do that, I nearly put you in a timeout. I really need to get the chat up, but I'm working on a video about Ethan, hence why I sat my white ass down and have been listening to Asmongold's takes on the Amber Heard trial.
It's been a eye-opening experience.
Ethan shared this guy as if, like, you know, he's just like some, you know, great guy. But he's on I-24 News, which is an Israeli official state broadcasting thing. So, like, I mean, I don't know. Let me see. I-24...
exactly where in the Gaza.
There was them doing propaganda about Palestinians stealing aid.
and to Sajaya, which is a...
This was also the first outlet that reported the baby beheading story. Yeah, I mean, there probably is some problems involving the light to view ratio, but we've only been live for a very, very short period. I need to get back up, because I was growing quite consistently, but then obviously when you go away and my streams have been a bit shit and unplanned, I don't know if I'll keep going live on TikTok, because I just get banned all the time. I just made a video about it on TikTok. But yeah, maybe I'll talk about that. I don't know. I mean, I've kind of spoken about it here. My problem with TikTok is two things. One, you can't achieve any consistency because regularly your views are just reduced. And then the other problem is you just get banned for saying, I shit you not. Like, I wish I could show you the clip here because it genuinely is this. I said, I don't talk to Israeli soldiers. I don't do that. And I also said, death to the IDF. I saw Bad Empanada's video where it says that's legal to say on here. When will you go live on IG? I've never done that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to watch this video, this guy. But, like, here's just loads of people commenting how they love it. We love Chris. Oh, they love me. They love me. Ethan's just...
But
it's also, like, not just Jewish content, is it? You're in Israel. There's a big difference. But anyway, this kind of brings us on to the first topic. We've got Taylor Lorenz versus Hen Mazzig. As I said, Taylor Lorenz, fantastic journalist. Lovely, lovely. Taylor Lorenz fangirling over Luigi Mangione. There's just loads of stuff about Taylor Lorenz.
Cards it and almost
Death to the IDF!
Okay, so we got another Piers Morgan epic. As always, Piers Morgan is back with a bang.
Death to the IDF!
I'm Piers Morgan, and I didn't like that. Oh, hello, River1. We still need to sort out a live. Maybe we'll do that later this week. I figured out what my Discord issues were, but we can get this done.
Death to the IDF! Hell yeah, from the river to the sea, Palestine must be, will be.
That was a display of disgusting anti-Semitism. The poor IDF are subjected to the nasty anti-Semitism.
Inshallah, it will be free.
Well, critics of the furore
I love how it does this, like, serious cut to this fucking idiot.
it's free speech, but free speech can still have consequences. Bob Dylan were dropped by their agents today. The United States has revoked their visas. They're also now facing a criminal investigation.
How are you coping with the heat? I don't know, bro. I just don't wash, so there you go. If you don't wash, you develop, like, a thick layer of sweat which protects you from the heat.
Which, in my view...
Nice. Okay, River1. Well, we'll talk again. Sorry, I've obviously been away, as people on here know. I was in Ireland, and I was on holiday, and so, yeah.
It's probably a step too far, but the free speech defence seems to be at odds with another Brit who made global headlines, Lucy Connolly, who's currently...
By the way, there's also... So this is something that they've been comparing with. Now, I'm going to say something here. Lucy Connolly should be in prison, because she called whilst there were riots to go down for mosques to be burned. Hold on, let's find it. She posted, hold on, mass deportation now, set fire to all the hotels. So she was calling for people to be burned alive. If you are being so disingenuous as to claim that that's an example of free speech akin to this one, then I don't really know what to say to you, because it's not really much correlation between that. If Bob Dylan had said burn down the synagogues, then yeah, okay, that probably would have crossed the line, you know? We probably should be talking about them as having engaged in vile anti-Semitism. Cut to the whitest man ever. I don't know, he does look like an old lady, as someone said the other day.
serving a 31-month jail term for incendiary social media post, which he deleted within a few hours. So does free speech only apply to people who go to music festivals? Joining me to debate all this, a lot more, the Israeli author and influencer Hen Mazzig, a comedian James Barr, commentator Esther Krakow, and from the United States, Taylor Lorenz, the founder of the User Mag newsletter and culture commentator.
Why is the fake Tyler Oakley guy always on here? Like, what is this all about? What is it with this fake Tyler Oakley?
Farah Khalidi, welcome to all of you. Taylor, let me start with you because you reposted somebody who said this: if you think death to the IDF is a bad thing to say or chant, you don't get to describe yourself as anti-fascist going forward. Why did you repost that?
Yeah, I repost tons of commentary on news events, basically. So I was sort of resharing, which is something I do a lot on my main page. I kind of just reshare a lot of discourse. I think one thing that's being really lost in all of these conversations is that the Israeli military is committing genocide. And so I completely understand why, people are upset about anyone sort of
This guy, this guy's weird. Don't know who she is, and that's Hen Mazzig. Ethan Klein fucking loves this guy.
calling for death, but it's important to recognize that the reason that they're calling for death to this sort of amorphous military entity is because that military entity is currently...
You can't see Taylor. Okay. Taylor's a friend of the show. Maybe I should just position myself here. Cover fake Tyler Oakley, and I guess I could go down here or here. I'll go here.
slaughtering babies and committing genocide in Gaza. And so these people that are very outraged that thousands of music goers at Glastonbury would repeat that phrase, I think that they should recognize that if they want to stop people from amplifying those messages and stop people from feeling, that we should destroy the...
Look at Hen Mazzig. He's already getting upset. He's already very sad. This guy's really good. He's really nice. He's a good Jewish author. Really nice guy. Never does anything wrong.
IDF. They should advocate for the end of the genocide.
And in the Iraq War, for example, in 2003, if they chanted death to the British Army and the US...
That would be good. That would be good. The British and US Army committed heinous war crimes in Iraq. Why would that be a problem? Why would that be a problem? What, because your uncle was in it or something?
Military.
People were. First of all, people
if thousands of people had done that at a music festival, you'd have thought that was acceptable too.
Well, I never said anything was acceptable, but if you remember, Piers, during the
I say it's acceptable. Of course, Taylor's probably being more careful than I would be.
Iraq War, people were chanting death to America, right? I'm smart enough to understand.
No, I'm talking about specifically talking about death to soldiers, right? You know, I've got a lot of military in my family. The idea. Well, hang on. The idea to me that you target in the way that this rapper did the military who are doing the dirty work for their government. That you say death to all of that.
Well, I mean, you're saying death to the military, but also I've seen probably people comment on this. I would say it's pretty important to note that, like, this is, the excuse of I was just following orders is not really acceptable.
When actually
they're death to the military.
Well, they're being instructed by their government to do what they're doing. Is my point.
Well, right, exactly. So we should end the genocide. And yes, people are going to, if a military entity is committing a genocide, yes, they want death to that military entity. Again,
Hen Mazzig, he's a real suffering guy. He's a real suffering guy.
That military entity is currently slaughtering innocent babies. We found out Haaretz reported just last week that they were
Well, they weren't talking about an entity. They were talking about the soldiers. They wanted death to the IDF soldiers.
No, they didn't say...
They said death to the IDF, but yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Death to the IDF soldiers. They said death to the IDF. Again, the IDF is a military entity. If people would like the public to change their sentiments around the IDF, they should advocate
What
for
do you think the IDF is?
It's a military organization. Again, if people want that, people are very angry at right now because this military organization is currently slaughtering children and committing genocide. So anybody that wants a more positive sentiment towards the IDF should advocate
What
for
do you think the IDF is?
What did she just say?
It's a military organization. Again, if people want that, people are very angry at right now because this military organization is currently slaughtering children and committing genocide. So anybody that wants a more positive sentiment towards the
What did she just say?
IDF should encourage the IDF to stop killing innocent
All right, so
civilians.
before I go to Hen, just to be clear, do you think he had a right to do what he did? And should there be any punishment in the way he's been dropped by his agents? He's been dropped from his visa application and so on. Do you think he was entitled to do what he did?
Well, I mean, listen, Piers, I'm a huge supporter of free speech. I think it's terrifying the way
Even when
that
people talk about killing people.
Well,
Couldn't get through work without this, Chris. Thank you for your very kind donation. Thank you so much for making this all possible. I mean, it's a very interesting topic of, this has really taken up a lot of time, I have got to be honest, but it is interesting, because I think it is, like, mad to see a reaction like this that's so fucking astroturfed, to basically have this thing of we're all meant to, like, condemn this thing, and it's just like, hey, they're doing genocide.
He said
I've been sick. I'm kind of better now, though. I've just got a blocked nose.
death to a military entity. But what I would say is that the criminalization of speech that we've seen in the UK is very concerning to me. Just the way that I feel like criminalization of speech, even speech that I don't agree with in the US, is also concerning to me. I don't think arrested or charged with these sort of speech crimes.
All right, but let's go to Hen Mazzig, your response to that.
Yeah, I think she's consistent, because I remember her, Taylor, posting once that young people in America don't think that 9/11 happened in a vacuum. I think that's a sort of a...
It's so funny as well. Like, that is true. What, like, she makes a comment that young people don't see 9/11 as happening in a vacuum. You can do the research on 9/11. Like, seriously, you can if you want. I'm not saying it's like some fucking big conspiracy, but you can find America's own involvement in that kind of thing. Like, you can find how America was allied with these kind of extremists, how they sponsored the Afghan jihad. It's not like a big conspiracy. They fostered these extremist Islamist groups to undermine left-wing politics in the Middle East. It's not like a big it's not like a big secret. Like, you know, you can literally find this out. Like, it's not hard. The US, Britain, and all of these people followed this policy because they saw right-wing Islamic movements as an alternative to communism and left-wing politics. Nationalist politics, not even just communist politics. The nationalism proposed by people like Gamal Abdel Nasser.
Approach that she has to all of it. But personally, I think that those people, and every Jew I know, felt the same way, that the Gladsbury fans were calling for the death of Israeli soldiers. What we hear when we hear death to the IDF is that the only line of defense between Jews and another Holocaust should be eradicated. And
this is a ridiculous argument. Israel is carrying out genocide right now, which the Holocaust is an example of. And I mentioned this in a response to, this is clearly a talking point that they've all been regurgitating, because Andrew Neil, who's a British journalist, said exactly the same thing. But this is from an Israeli called, what's his name? Boaz Evron. Anyway, he talked about this. How does the IDF, how does the IDF protect Jews from a second Holocaust? Millions of Slavic people who lived in states with armies were also exterminated by the Nazis. The real way to prevent genocide is to destroy all supremacist ideologies such as Zionism. It's kind of this thing of like, oh, the Holocaust is just some ahistorical event to like a lot of people, like Hen Mazzig, that's just like, it only happened to Jewish people. It didn't only happen to Jewish people. The Nazis exterminated political opponents. Were the vast majority of the victims even, like, I know it's around 6 million Jewish people, but were the vast majority even, like, how many Slavs were killed? I think they probably still would make up the largest proportion of Holocaust victims, but it's still like a few million Slavs. The Nazis killed an estimated 2 million. 1.5 million Polish citizens were deported to German territory for forced labor. So yeah, I mean, there's an obscene amount of German Slavic people killed, and this came from something called the Drang nach Osten, which is the desire to move eastward. You can literally, it's literally on Wikipedia. Hold on, nach Osten. Drang nach Osten, aus der nationalistischen, this is in German, and I am not going to read it to you all in German, thankfully we have, here you go, Drang nach Osten, drive to the east or push eastwards. This is where desire to push east was the name of the 19th century German nationalist intent to expand Germany into Slavic territories. So look, this was a point at which it was acceptable to do this kind of thing, to do these things to like Slavic people. Basically, the Nazis did these kind of things to Slavs. They did it to anyone who got in the way, who were viewed as like subhumans, basically. And so when you have this argument of like, we need a really strong militia who are extremists, who kill innocent people en masse, who are perpetrating genocide. Sorry, I've accidentally just inhaled some paper. I need to wash that down. Who are perpetrating all of these crimes, you are making a joke that this is somehow ostensibly preventing a second Holocaust. My first salary after unemployment came in, I can finally put some money. Thank you so much for supporting, Michelle. It's never an obligation, especially if you don't have the financial means, but I'm incredibly appreciative, and congratulations on getting a job. I understand that this is not the easiest thing at this time. It's why I feel very blessed to be able to do something I'm very passionate about. LGBTQ plus state, when they're going to make the state of the trans people. That's what they're doing in America. They're bringing over illegal migrants to make the state of the trans people.
We know that it's fact because on October 7th, when the IDF wasn't prepared to what happened in Gaza, we saw the results. And thank God they came on time to stop it from happening all over. By the way, did anyone ever chanted death to Hamas in those?
It's also, this is kind of like how that Zionist girl debated. She just said lots and lots of different things over and over again. Like rapid succession. By the way, did anyone chant death to Hamas? No, but you do propaganda for the Israeli government doing genocide, so...
Festivals, why is it even happening? It was truly disgusting to so many of us. And I mean, I think that all of those artists that are using this conflict and this war to become famous, I never heard about Bob Dylan, I don't know if you did before, or even Kneecap, I just heard about them in this context, never heard about them before. But I think artists are using it to become relevant again, even though they're not. And I think it's really troubling. And it's even more troubling that governments are allowing supporting of terrorism in this way.
It's so funny as well, because like he's a propagandist for the Israeli government who genuinely like foster terrorism, whose entire MO for the last I don't know, since its very inception, has been terror against the indigenous people to remove them from their historic homeland. And he's a propagandist for that, and he goes, it's so sad government's allowed us. And it's like, you work directly in service of that, so come on, bro.
Yeah, James, I mean, Glastonbury had the brass neck to put out a statement saying we would never platform anyone who's anti-Semitic. It's like, you literally platformed Kneecap, who were on stage 2 years ago, chanting their support and leading their fans to chant support for Hamas and Hezbollah. Hard to imagine anything more anti-Semitic than that. They also said,
just anti-Semitic,
infamously, that you should go and kill your local MP in a country where 2 MPs have been murdered by deranged people. So,
but the MPs weren't murdered by deranged people. One of them, David Amos, was murdered by an Islamic extremist. Sorry, excuse me. Murder. He was murdered in Lee-on-Sea by Ali Harbi Ali, was a Somali. I don't know why he did it. He right, so here's some information about that. So he's an Islamic extremist, and then the other was murdered by a right-wing extremist who said, I'm sorry. And here's what he said was Britain first, and the organisation he shouted out still aren't banned in the UK. So it wasn't just 2 deranged individuals, it was 2 individuals from differing ends of the political spectrum who, well, I mean, actually, that's not really a differing end of the political spectrum. One is an extremist who supports a regressive version of Islam, and one of them is a person who supports a horrifying version of right-wing politics. So they're just saying that this guy was referred to Prevent on multiple occasions, and then he committed a crime. Like, why was he not dealt with? You know, it's kind of questionable. This Prevent organisation we spend so much money on and put so much threat into it.
You know, I didn't understand why Kneecap were performing at Glastonbury, given that the BBC was screening all this. But then for the BBC to actually allow this to go out, when they had a way of stopping it, it seems to me, given all the furore that's raged about anti-Semitism and the BBC not doing enough to counter it and so on, a quite extraordinary mistake by them.
I mean, honestly, I'm a bit dyslexic, so when I heard that Bob Dylan was saying these things, I was very confused. I was like, why is Robert Zimmerman coming for the kibbutz?
It's not Bob Dylan.
Clearly not. It's a bit too far, isn't it? I mean,
why is it a bit too far?
Whatever side you're on here, and hopefully you're on the side of humanity not being killed, it's a bit far. I also think it's interesting that it happened at a music festival. That's quite raw, considering October 7th.
I love this stupid line of argument. Glastonbury is not outside of the Gaza Strip. Glastonbury is not outside of, you know, an area where the people there are kept under horrifying bombardment, where masses of them are killed. Whenever they are, masses of them are killed whenever they do peaceful protesting, like the Great March of Return, you know?
It happened at a music festival. But again...
I mean, I'm not Jewish, but if I was Jewish, living in the United Kingdom, there aren't that many Jews in England. It's 300,000, maybe. You know, I would have felt very unnerved watching an English music crowd, thousands of them, chanting death to, you know, fellow Jews. Now, you might...
It's so funny as well. Like, when did they chant death to Jews? Like, when did they do that? They just didn't.
Try and distinguish it with IDF, but we all know what he meant. He was saying, you know, go and kill Israeli soldiers. Right now, and I would say, in the Ukraine war, I feel that Vladimir Putin waged an illegal invasion of a sovereign democratic country, and it's completely outrageous.
By the way, someone actually found Piers Morgan supporting. Someone actually found Piers Morgan supporting this. Facebook, Instagram let users call for the death of Russian soldiers over Ukraine. That's an article from 3 years ago. I'm just going to see if I can find this Piers Morgan thing. Here you go. Here's Piers Morgan endorsing the assassination of Lieutenant General Krylov.
But I don't wish death on Russian soldiers who are doing his dirty work.
Well, he did wish the death on this guy. He said it was an incredible strike.
I think you've got to be like I did when I opposed the Iraq War. I didn't blame the UK troops. I blame the government that sent them. They do what they're told.
Look, I'm not a leading expert on this. In fact, I think Hen actually posted over the weekend saying he
Well, why are you on here? What? Have someone else on.
was sat next to a hairdresser. That was me.
Wouldn't be almost exclusively Jewish. Yeah, exactly. Israel is an ethno-state. They have these soldiers who do genocide from them so they can keep being an ethno-state. Like, what can you really say?
On this panel, which is rude to hairdressers because I actually think they're very intelligent.
I thought your hair was gorgeous.
Thank
that's
you
why,
so much,
that's all I
babes.
remember.
The worst thing about you is I've had to see your massive head on
Thank you.
billboards all through London because of your apparently increasingly successful radio show, which I was completely unaware of. So
Right, well-
that was a horrific sight.
Who is he? Who is this guy? And like, look at how friendly he is with all of them versus how he speaks to Taylor.
Coming over I thought it was coming up into London, and suddenly one of my sons went, "Dad, isn't that James Barr?" I went, whoa!
Before breakfast.
You loved it.
Gigantic gurning
You
head
loved it, but
staring
this
at
isn't-
me.
this
Then
isn't
he
about
crashed my
me.
car. Anyway, the more serious matters. I mean, do you condemn it? Do you think it was wrong that he did this?
That he started a chant.
Yeah.
Well, it's inciting violence, isn't it? What I think is interesting is that you are always very pro freedom of speech, but as soon as it is
Until they incite violence.
it's a good learning opportunity. Like hate speech is different to freedom of speech, and there should be accountability.
Well, actually, I mean, it's criminalised in America. You can't incite violence.
Yeah.
I
I think
it's
that's,
First
that
Amendment.
line
So-
has never been crossed. They've never said free speech.
I don't think it's a difficult
violence.
moral line. Honestly, I don't. I think the free speech line, when they try and use that as defence for actually encouraging violence, when Kneecap said, go and kill your local MP, knowing that 2 local MPs have been killed,
Yeah.
right? That, I'm afraid, that's not a free speech issue. That is an incitement to murder,
And
right?
also
And
context
similarly, when...
matters.
But also, like, what are the people at Glastonbury going to kill members of the IDF? Like, Jesus Christ.
You get this idiot up there on stage, knowing exactly what he's doing, and he probably in cahoots with Kneecap, I don't know, but it looked to me like they'd encouraged people to go there early, so they caught this guy. Kneecap were not going to be put on BBC, this other guy was. It looked...
Yeah, exactly. Saying, I mentioned this earlier, that saying they do what they're told is not some kind of justification for this.
To me like there was probably a conversation. And then he just brazenly says, death to the IDF. Shocking to me.
And then thousands of people chant it back, and the only people talking about this like you are these cretins that you could find to say exactly the same stuff as you.
Well, I'm not one for roadman geopolitics, which he seems to subscribe to. But also with the whole incitement to violence, context matters. So John Stuart Mill said, if you say kill a corn dealer outside of a corn dealer's house, that's different to shouting that in the middle of Trafalgar Square. And I don't think Hamas are waiting for the opinion of people that go to Glastonbury and pay £400 to be in smelly toilets and tents to actually, incite violence against the IDF. But
Hamas incites violence against the IDF! What? Who is this person? Who is this? Like, why do you have this person? Hamas incites violence against the IDF. Hamas kills Israeli soldiers who invade their land and do shit like this. Wipe away history and culture. It is so deranged. I mean, this has provided content for the stream for a while, but my lord, these people are stupid. Hamas incite violence against the IDF.
it is unsightly. The big scandal here is obviously the BBC. There is no reason why they shouldn't have had some sort of playback or something that slowed down the stream.
Especially all the trouble they've had with Gary Lineker and everything.
But Glastonbury is infamous.
Especially all the trouble they've had with Gary Lineker. What, Gary Lineker opposing genocide and, oh no, they should not be able to talk about this. Look, this man is just, don't trust Piers Morgan. He's never changed. He's just a fan of the Israeli military. He's just a fan of what they do. He's a fan of Western imperialism.
For this, we saw Stormzy a few years ago, shouting "F Boris Johnson" and encouraging the crowd to do that. We know the kinds of people that go to Glastonbury, and we know the kinds
and
of
a cursory
scandals
look at
people
this
engage in.
rapper's background and the stuff. He talked about killing the Queen, right? He's on the record of saying the most despicable things. Why?
Despicable things. Have a fucking opinion about something. Who cares about the Queen? The Queen is just is like a who cares? She's fucking dead.
Is he being given a platform at
I don't mind that. There are all sorts of cranks that get given a platform. Greta Thunberg, who hasn't done anything useful with her life, got on a fishing boat to.
Who are you? Like, no one knows you. No one knows who you are, and you're like, Greta Thunberg got on a fishing boat. It's like, Jesus Christ. Where do you dig these people up from? This guy, he's like, oh, he has an incredibly popular radio show. Does he? He's got like 25 fucking thousand followers on Twitter. That's not really indicative of having like a hugely successful radio show and podcast. He has 5,000 followers he has 20,000 followers on TikTok. I've got fucking... If I talked about some other kind of politics and had the same kind of audience I did, you know, I'd probably get a radio show. If I was like a little liberal or something. Like, this guy posts comedy videos which are boosted by TikTok constantly, and it gets 40 likes. Like, why is he talking about Glastonbury and genocide and any of this shit?
To Gaza. I mean, it doesn't bother me that random people do stupid things. It's the fact that the BBC, which actually has a responsibility to not air.
The Queen is dead, boys, and it's so lovely. What is it? Farewell to this land's cheerless marshes. Oh, farewell to this land's cheerless marshes. Hemmed in like a boar between arches. What is it actually? And the Queen is dead, boys, and it's so lonely on a limb. Past the pub that wrecks your body, and the church, all they want is your money. The Queen is dead, boys, and it's so lonely on a limb. It's Morrissey! Morrissey said the Queen is dead, and this is lovely. Like, what are you talking about? Like, Morrissey's a fucking idiot in his politics. But, like, people have said outrageous things. Think about what fucking, the Sex Pistols said. God save the Queen, the fascist regime. And I know Johnny, whatever his name is, has dog shit opinions now. But, yeah.
Hatred failed spectacularly at this. They didn't even see it coming, which is shocking.
Taylor, let me bring Taylor back here. Do you agree that free speech does not come without accountability? Otherwise, you can say what you want to say, and he did, and he got what he wanted, a blaze of publicity, a blaze of headlines. But now he's feeling the icy chill of accountability dropped by his agent.
I love how Piers Morgan has been like an ardent anti-free free speech. He's like, I'm a free speech advocate, and it's just like, yeah, but, you know, just when it comes to something he doesn't want to hear, he literally has a meltdown.
Agency, United Talent Agency, had his visa revoked and so on, which will affect the tour that he was planning to do, or that they were as a group. I mean, do you think that is appropriate punishment if you incite violence?
I think what Hen said about how, you know, artists are doing this for publicity, I disagree with that, because it's not beneficial to their careers. I mean,
well, it can be. Kneecap have seen massive ticket sales despite being banned.
But Kneecap have also been subjected to police cases, to all of these things. So this idea that they're getting so much out of it is ridiculous. Like, Bob Vylan have stood by what they said. They haven't issued some kind of statement backing down.
From various places. In fact, when you get banned, it tends to have the opposite effect, which is probably what will happen with these guys.
I think losing out the way that musicians make money is primarily through touring, especially if you're a small musician. And if you suddenly can't tour and you're shut out of the largest market in the West, which is America, I do think that.
Do you think he has small face Charlie Kirk move? He kind of does a bit. And Hen Mazzig is just an idiot.
Will have a significant impact, you know, on his career. I just want to say again that. We need to keep the focus on the genocide. I mean, we had hundreds of Israelis chanting death to Arabs, right? Which was completely shocking. Just, you know,
condemned by everyone.
But it wasn't condemned by everyone. What action was taken? Israel hosts Jerusalem, the government, which you are in leagues with. This guy is literally in leagues with the Israeli government. And they're the ones who are fucking, they're the ones who, like, allow this to happen. Jerusalem Flag Day is not like some random thing.
Well, I certainly didn't see a lot of the people that are freaking out about Bob Vylan speaking in the same way.
You should follow me, because you would see the post that I made calling this out, as well as the Israeli government itself that has issued condemnation of it.
Okay, well, that's good to hear that they did that. Now, what they should do next is stop the genocide. Again, if people want the public and these artists to have more positive sentiment towards this.
Okay, here's Hen Mazzig's tweet. We found it. Having real convictions horrifies conservatives. I mean, indeed it does. Yeah, it's funny. They just drummed up a bunch of, like, fucking right-wing weirdos who'd say what Piers wanted. Like, one's gay, you know, he's there. One's gay, one's black. It's meant to be show, like, oh, look, here's all these people of differing identities. And it's like, hey, it doesn't really matter. Their politics are all the same. It's just not great. It's not good. Extremism in any form. Like, look, Hen Mazzig starts it off by going, Hamas is not the only obstacle to peace. No, Israel is the only obstacle to peace, not Hamas. Israel is categorically the only obstacle to peace. If Hamas were destroyed and went away, there would not be peace, because Israel would continue stealing Palestinian land. But this guy, of course, can only talk about it in this context. By the way, there is a severe amount of lacking likes right now, so get that up. Extremism in any form, whether from terror groups or from extremist Israelis shouting death to Arabs today in Jerusalem, undermines our future. There's no place for hate in a society that seeks peace. We must call it out even when it's our own. Well, I mean, this is something that happens every year. This wasn't like some random outburst. This was Jerusalem Flag Day, an event that, you know, Hen Mazzig has still worked with the Israeli government whilst they're doing this.
Israeli military forces.
I don't think anyone wants positive sentiment. I don't know why you twisted it around. We're saying we don't want anyone to call for the death of anyone. I mean, if you are advocating against genocide and you don't want people to be killed, how can you turn around and say at the same breath that you think chanting for death should be contextualized somehow?
Well, yeah, because again, if an army is committing genocide and slaughtering babies and creating the highest rate of child amputees in the world, and if that is what they have done for months and years now, and then the public is rightfully outraged about that
calling
genocide.
For their death, that's the issue. It's not.
Calling for the death of a military entity that is currently committing genocide.
Taylor, you can't keep saying that.
It's a compulsory army.
You can't. What is Piers Morgan's role in this? Just to like, kind of get involved and like say I support this guy's view. You know, and yeah, like all of you saying it, you're right. This is just tokens. Like, they bring people like this on, a gay person, an Israeli, and also an Israeli gay person, a mixture of the two, just to have them on for, like, the sake of it, because then it's like, wow. But Taylor can't make this distinction for what? What reason? Taylor's right.
I don't even believe that when you're saying it.
Yeah.
If they say death to the British Army, no one's taking that as meaning the institution. They're taking it as meaning British soldiers.
When people say death to America, they mean death to American imperialism that is subjugated.
No, they don't. They mean death to Americans.
That's a very
No, and also she's right here. It does mean death to American imperialism. If America didn't interfere in the Middle East the way it does, then it wouldn't be this way.
As the supreme leader of Iran, what they mean.
I don't think you even believe this as you're saying it, Taylor, do you?
Again, they didn't say death to Israelis. They said death to the IDF. Again,
who are Israelis?
Genocide.
It's a compulsory service. We have to join the army in Israel.
You can choose to not join the army, of course.
Of course, and go to prison.
Between participating in.
So what's your point here? That like Israel should just be allowed to do whatever it wants because it's compulsory? It's a very stupid argument.
A genocide and slaughtering innocent babies and consciously objecting.
Yeah, but my point, look, Taylor, my point would be, I have a lot of.
I hate this tiny whizzle. Who's the tiny whizzle? Hen Mazzig?
Criticism of what the Israeli government is doing in Gaza right now. I think it's gone way beyond self-defense. I've said this publicly. I'm getting hammered for it by a lot of the more extreme people on the pro-Israeli side, which is fine. I don't care. I got hammered by the extreme pro-Palestinians earlier in this war. It doesn't matter. I try and be intellectually honest, you know. And in this case,
intellectually honest,
I can quite easily be critical of what Netanyahu's doing in Gaza and say it's gone way too far and it has to stop. And at the same time, recognise that having a rapper on a stage at an English music festival chanting death to the IDF, it's also disgusting and should also be condemned outright by everybody. And if people can't condemn it, and all due respect, if you try and twist it into, well, he was just talking about the institution, not about individual IDF soldiers, come off it.
But also, individual IDF soldiers are committing genocide. Individual IDF soldiers.
She has a point, but also I'd say that it is just the military is the thing that's systemically perpetrating the crimes. This is Hen Mazzig. I don't really. He just runs like Israeli propaganda stuff now. He doesn't work directly for the Israeli government, but he is literally just a pro-Israel propagandist. That's all he is. I don't even know what he does. He just writes pieces. All his posts are just about like he's just posting about how Israeli soldiers were killed in a missile attack and just rubbish. It's just rubbish.
Soldiers are committing war crimes, and again, we need to.
They are doing what they're doing at the behest of their government, as all military do. It would be like saying individual soldiers in Iraq from Britain were the real problem, when in fact the problem was the government that sent them.
The problem is.
So you're saying that the problem is systemic? I don't understand. So the problem is systemic, and so it's okay to call for death to the institution.
The problem is the government, and the problem.
Oh, I'm never going to be on Piers Morgan. I'm never going to be on anything. No one wants me on there because they know what would happen. Because I can actually hold my own, and I'm not going to give any ground because I actually understand this deeply. Like, Taylor understands this and is holding her ground, but, like, at the same time, this isn't, like, Taylor's area of expertise, you know? I genuinely think that, like, I have not been welcomed on intentionally because people know what would happen if I was welcomed on, you know?
The problem is the people that support the government. The problem is,
but soldiers don't get a chance. You don't get a chance. You sign up to your military, and you do what you're told.
Okay, again, I do think that we need to remember that there is a genocide happening, and all of these people that are anti-death.
But that's kind of irrelevant. It's kind of irrelevant to what we're talking about. When no one's talking about what you think.
I'd go if I was invited. Yes.
Is a genocide, what other people think is an unnecessary slaughter, other people trying to defend it. That is one issue, but that's nothing to do with the right of a rapper to actively call for the deaths of people.
The reason why people were chanting that at Glastonbury is because there is so much anti-genocide sentiment, because people want the military to stop committing a genocide.
They want it's not to stop committing a genocide.
They
want
death
to die. It's
to the IDF.
Well, I think there are lots of people that agree with you.
Let me bring Esther, I want to read you what Bobby Villan, the front man, posted a response. And I said what I said. As we grow older, he wrote, and our fire possibly starts to dim under the suffocation of adult life and all its responsibilities, incredibly important that we encourage and inspire future generations to pick up the torch that was passed to us. Let them see us marching in the streets, campaigning on ground level, organising online.
Like, as well, it's not the reach of these people. This person has 17,000 followers. Her name's Esther Kraku. She runs Turning Point UK. Oh god, Esther Kraku. So she's like a member of Turning Point UK.
Life expectancy has
for this group market system,
which just uploads videos of uploads old videos of Charlie Kirk. Like, it's so funny. This is like her. This is what her biggest achievement is, I think. Wait, hold on. Let me see if she's like a big YouTuber. Yeah, I mean, Esther Trash Film, Sky News. Maybe she's a Sky News Australia presenter. Yeah, she is. It's like, what? You're a presenter for... And she's a Reform Party voter. I haven't seen the welfare, not warfare protest. No, I haven't even seen that.
And is shouting about it on every stage that we are offered. Today is a change in school dinners, tomorrow's a change in foreign policy. And he kept citing his daughter and everything else. What he didn't do, Esther, was apologise.
Yeah, fuck, don't apologise.
Right? So you've got this contrast.
So you have an extremist right-wing black lady that you bring on solely because of her identity. Like, that's why you brought her on, to be like, oh, look, there's a massive contingency against this. You have a supporter of Israel, Hen Mazzig. You have Hen Mazzig. Then you have this Tyler Oakley wannabe. I've already forgotten his name. No one knows who he is. And then you have her and Taylor Lorenz and Piers Morgan. It's just a right-wing circle jerk.
With the way that this woman, who was a carer, who posted incredibly inflammatory incitement to violence after the Stockport murders, realised after a few hours that she shouldn't have done it, deleted it, apologised, but is now serving a 21-month prison sentence. Yeah. Right? There's a clear double standard in the way she's been treated and the way so far this rapper...
What information? Oh, send it. You can send it to my email. I haven't checked it in a while. I need to get back to it.
Been treated, or indeed the way that Kneecap were treated for openly calling for MPs to be killed.
Yeah, and this is in a country where 30 people a day are being, imprisoned for online messages, which that...
What do you mean? So by condemning Hamas, you're condemning black people. What was your argument? What?
That's the context we're existing in. Look, I'm not surprised that he didn't apologize, but I think the problem with taking his punishment too far is he becomes a martyr. He says, oh, look at what happens to me when I speak against the institution. He becomes a symbol or a hero for anti-establishment individuals, and that's not the point here. I'm sure there are many people that would agree with him, as many people who disagree with him. That's not the point here. The point is, where do we draw the line with free speech, and whether the BBC should have aired this in the first place? People can argue about whether this is...
I think the BBC made a massive error.
Exactly, and that's the main point. And I don't really know anyone that is...
Jesus Christ, the amount of things that the BBC has done to support Israel's genocide, and this is the massive error.
Looking at this conflict and it's not horrified by what's going on in Gaza. Yeah. I mean, it's genuinely awful.
It is. And I think most people have come around to that way of thinking, that it has to stop. I posted directly to...
Look how diverse idiots can be. Yeah, you're right.
President Trump, because I think he hates war, and I think he should just put pressure on Netanyahu now to end this.
Trump hates war. Didn't Trump... I saw Jason Hickel talking about this. Not Jackson Hinkle. Is it Jackson Hickel? What's his name? Jason Hickel? I thought it was. Yeah, it is Jason Hickel. I thought I'd just imagine that. I saw him talking about this. I don't know enough about this, but he was talking about... this. The US brokered peace deal between the DRC and Rwanda is actually wild. Trump doesn't hate war. It's a joke. The US is getting access to $2 trillion worth of DRC minerals in exchange for forcing the withdrawal of Rwandan-backed M23 militias. That's 1/10 of the DRC's total mineral wealth. more than any single foreign country. He literally was saying that he only wanted peace in Ukraine so he could get money. Yeah, I know. I'm not saying Jackson Hinkle. I am trying to say Jason Hickel. This is strange because analysts of the region have long argued that the US has effectively enabled Rwandan support for the M23 in order to destabilize the Democratic Republic of Congo, prevent a functional state from arising, and achieving sovereignty over its mineral wealth, and thus ensure minerals stay cheaply available for US firms. If this analysis is correct, then the US has just acquired $2 trillion in mineral rights in exchange for stopping a conflict that it has effectively supported. Consider how the media discourse is playing out. Remember that in 2008, Chinese firms signed a deal with the DRC to obtain $9 billion in minerals in exchange for infrastructure development. Western media went wild with narratives of Chinese colonization. I mean, I don't know enough of this, about this, but it doesn't seem unfeasible. And like the same with Sudan, this idea that this guy hates warfare. Why do we have a relationship with the people fueling warfare and genocide in Sudan?
To stop. Because apart from anything else, I've got a lot of friends who are Jewish, a lot of friends who are Israelis, and I feel like some get it and some don't. But the way that Israel's reputation around the world is suffering as a result of what they're doing here, I'm not sure it's really being communicated properly to the people of Israel. I don't think they're hearing it. I think there's a kind.
Oh, they are hearing it, but there's an increasing adoption of the Kahanist belief. Like, that Israel should be on its own and should do whatever it wants. Israel may have lost all of its public opinion, but it also still has Western governments that lick its arse and let it do whatever. And they have people like Piers who are defending it to the hilt to this day, while still say that it's bad, you know?
Kind of put your finger in your ears and not hear it and just keep barreling on. And I feel for the average Israeli who's watching this and probably thinking, wow, what's the reputation of our country around the world now? It's not good.
And would it ever recover, especially amongst a generation that's now being groomed to be as anti-Israeli as possible? I mean, if you're under 35, this is something that will scar your memory forever. And that really should be the conversation, as opposed to, you know, cheap celebrities pulling these gimmicks. I'm sorry, there's no one in Gaza that's grateful to Bob Villain for his roadman geopolitics.
I'm pretty sure there are people in Gaza who would be like, hey, thank you for taking a strong stance against, and would actually appreciate musicians who do that. But, you know, these people don't care about anything like that. They don't care about anything like that.
None whatsoever. It's a bit like when Greta got on that stupid boat. It's like, it doesn't do any good to anybody. James, I'm going to come to you with this. I want to play you a clip of one of my favourite moments from Glastonbury to lift the mood.
There's nobody talking. We just ran away. Patty gave birth to a 10-pound baby boy.
I probably can't listen to this. Hold on.
Old. Do you think I'm sexy? Yes, I do, Rod. You're still doing it. Kicking footballs in the crowd, running around like a teenager.
It's also because, 30-year-olds being groomed. You're right. It's kind of funny, Hyper J. But also at the other key point, I would say with this is basically, well, they're being groomed by Israel doing genocide. What is your argument here?
Unbelievable array of banger songs in the legend slot. What's not to love, James Barr?
But he sounds like an XL bully being seized. That's what's not to love. His voice is awful. I mean, God bless him.
His voice was great last night.
Really?
Did you watch it?
I literally just watched that clip.
Yeah,
that was the best clip.
You watched 120
It was not great.
It was a brilliant 90 minutes. It was brilliant.
It wasn't.
Rod Stewart was brilliant.
It wasn't doing great. And I read a few.
I
read some reviews. They weren't great. They were saying he'd taken back feminism years. Listen, he thinks Nigel Farage should be prime minister. So.
But that's your problem with him.
Well, no, I was just saying, maybe
you gave away your colours there.
Once, and his politics are his, and that's fine.
Change the mood here. So I want to show this. This is the pop singer Lord, who also appeared at Glastonbury. Played a secret gig to Lord.
As mild as any of these album covers.
Okay, so that's it. That's enough of that. I'm not listening to any more of whatever the fuck they were talking about there. No, thank you. Right, that was certainly an interesting one. Yeah, he did endorse reform. Of course. There's no substantial conversation. It's literally just bullshit. Like, they don't want any serious conversation about, you support this.
Fuck that, yo!
So this is the other person who chanted
Fuck Netanyahu! Fuck the IDF! Free, free! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine!
So that's the other guy, Mark Rebillet. I don't even know Mark Rebillet. No idea who he is. But here's his statement, which looks like it's going to be fucking dog shit. Here's how I see it but Israel is making peace impossible. Hamas is making peace impossible. Not true. Israel is making peace impossible. It's gridlock. The sheer amount of bullet points I've notated from my readings, going back and forth, incitement, retaliation, deaths, tragedies, dating back to the 1910s. Why does this guy think he's like some kind of genius talking about the 1910s? The 1910s wasn't where it started. It's far too long to list. If you think October the 7th was justified, or that Israel's war crimes are justified in any way, Keithley Bear, thank you for supporting. Thank you for becoming a member. You are too close to it to look at a situation objectively. Murder of innocent civilians is never justified. Never. Those with a dog in the fight are often too hurt, too biased, or too fixated on victory to see clearly. This is partly why it has gotten worse and worse for 100 years. What? It's like, you say you've read about this, but you're just talking like a fucking idiot. What did Greg say? Rod Stewart endorsed Starmer last general election, so it's nice to see him moving left. I mean, at least he didn't endorse Robert Jenrick, because Robert Jenrick is further right than all of them. But yeah, it's kind of just like, you know, I don't even know if I want to read this guy, what he's talking about, but because it just seems like it's just utter shit. Like, he's like saying, oh, this is because of what people say. That's not why it's this way. It's because Israel has increasingly never wanted that. Israel got the peace agreement it wanted. It had Palestinians completely capitulate to them, and that was it. Yeah, this is the same Mark from the thing. This is the same Mark who's like, everyone's been showing, wow, he said fuck the IDF. Sorry, I want to check. Yeah, it's because I swallowed some paper. Oh, God. It's trivial compared to those affected, but I can read, I can educate myself, and I have been trying to do that. At this rate, where Israel will wipe Palestine off the face of the earth, they've already almost succeeded. Realistically speaking, if Gaza stand any chance of survival given the current situation, it would require Hamas to lay down and surrender. No, it wouldn't! Like, you say you've been reading. This is just not true. Like, that's not why Israel's doing genocide. Israel will settle the West Bank regardless of what Hamas is doing. I'm also definitely not a stoner, like 100% not a stoner. It's not a stoner cough. I've just got an illness and I swallowed something a second ago. But yeah, like, this is just, I don't know. This is a dog shit statement, to be clear. But they will not. Try telling Israel to do the same. Not happening. Neither side will give an ounce of slack when it matters. Thus we have this tragic reality. People stuck, innocent people dying, being martyred every day, and their governing bodies not actually fighting for peace, but instead for victory. One last thing. I think that social media supports the Palestinian cause. The Palestinian cause received has been quite positive. It has allowed people from all over the world to begin to peer into, learn about, and advocate for a conflict that involves not only the Middle East, but many of the colonial powers of the world, not the least of which includes the US. What? Why are you both siding this and then posting this about... What is this? No, it's not super illegal. No, I just mean I no longer engage in that kind of thing, Trap Advisor. I'm not offended. It's not legal in the UK, but people do it. Yeah. Warsaw was sent to camps after the uprising surrendered. The uprising in Warsaw also only surrendered because there was no option to go on because the Nazis burnt everything in the Warsaw ghetto. They set everything on fire. People had already gone to the camps, and Marek Edelman, who's actually involved, doesn't talk about it from like a case of glorious victory. He talks about it as a choice of how to die. Humiliated, and this is kind of like the Palestinians. Will they be sent away and humiliated and sent to another land that they're not from? It's just like, does your ass... Well, it's also funny just invoking this kind of rhetoric and like Ethan endorsing it when he was saying America is good the other day. At the same time, this movement has resulted in a pretty aggressive spike in anti-Semitism. No, it hasn't. I see and hear examples of it across social media and from my friends. This is not okay. This is not the answer. The Jewish people have a long and deeply traumatic history of being exiled and exterminated. We in the US know this. We help fight for their survival. We must be sensitive to this trauma, and we use our... Also, by the way, the US government worked with the Nazis. Like, the US companies in close proximity to the Israeli government, the UK, the US government were working. Places like Ford, companies like Ford worked with the Nazis. You had, and also, by the way, I double checked this, and it is mentioned in Neither Settler nor Native by Mahmoud Mamdani. He talks about how there was a precision bombing campaign by the Allies, which intentionally left some factories untouched. I'll actually see if I can find it for you. Because my friend, who we were having a debate about this, because I was like, actually, you know, I think the British were, and the Allies were pretty close with the Nazis in ways that we often don't talk about it. Now, this will be where it is in the book. It's on page 108. I don't have the book to hand, I don't think. I'll just quickly double check. No, it's not up here to hand. If I had it to hand, I would get you the exact citation. Anyway, after the Allies bombed Germany, American companies were unscathed or not even damaged. Ford and British Coulthard plants at Cologne shared the immunity of the Cathedral Motel Opel Works were almost the only buildings left in Rüsselsheim. I.G. Farben's works at Horst miraculously escaped. By the way, this is an interesting comment. Apparently that German industry expanded. Don't know if that's true. Probably is. Mamdani's citations weren't incorrect. There were some that I didn't agree with, though. This is also, by the way, I think, why I think Mamdani's dad is so base. Zoran's dad. This is Mahmoud Mamdani, who's Zoran's dad. Here it is. He says, if Nazism was put on trial rather than individuals, then the result would have been a reflection that this was an American and global project, a complex of the nation state and big business working toward the aims inherent in themselves. Just think about the Gaza genocide now, in this context. You know? Think about the Gaza genocide. Is it any different? Big business working in collusion to do genocide. So, America's help of them, is it really true? The Americans were an inspiration to Hitler. Hitler spoke gleefully about how the Americans had gunned down millions of Redskins. So, like, this whole shit about America knows about anti-Semitism. Do you? Do you? We must be sensitive to this trauma when we use our language and forming an expression. My feelings about the Israeli government and Israeli military have nothing to do with my feelings about the Jewish people. I have and will always have. But then Ethan, hang on. This guy is saying that he's talking about the Israeli military when he says fuck Netanyahu and fuck the IDF. But when someone says death to the IDF, Ethan doesn't think that they might just be talking about the military? Like, this is okay, but someone saying death to the IDF as an industry, but when he says fuck the IDF, he means go out and have sex with the IDF again, sex with them. That's not okay. You can't say this. You can't say this. He's lying to you. He's making a distinction, not true distinction. Not true distinction. This is fake, false, no. But yeah, it's just fucking ridiculous, and I'm not reading any more of this statement. I think whoever made this statement is an idiot. The final thing on this, Bob, well, I know who made the statement, but yeah. Well, the funny thing is the Jim Crow laws, particularly the one-drop law, is actually far stronger than the Nazis' Nuremberg policy in terms of how it classified a Jewish person. This is the final thing we're going to watch, because this is an idiotic take from Andrew Neil.
Death to the IDF, shouted moronic rapper
Based
Pascal Robinson Foster at the Glastonbury Music Festival. A posh double-barreled name is perhaps not the best handle for a self-styled Rasta radical, so he goes by the name Bobby Villain instead. We'll stick to his real name. As he strutted the stage, shirtless in his white underwear, mouthing his mantra, along with a generous dose of anti-Semitism.
What was anti-Semitic? Go on. Also, where did this guy say he was a Rasta? Is that just... I don't think Bob Villain is a Rasta. Is he? I don't know. I don't know.
The Glasgow crowd dutifully repeated it again.
Well, I found a Bob Villain song where he says, Rastaman tell the youths eat ital. Daily exercise, fresh air is vital. Whether you short walk, run or take a cycle, meditate to live life and love it.
Again and again. I'm not sure what was worse, Mr. Robinson Foster's call for the death of Israeli Defense Forces, or a mindless audience's brain-dead repetition of it. Since the IDF is all that stands between Israel's survival and it being wiped out by its Islamist enemies...
Being wiped out by its Islamist enemies. Well, Hamas is the only thing that stands out between Palestinians and being wiped out by their Jewish supremacist enemies. And that's actually true. Like, that's actually true. It's the only thing standing between Israel, because look what happens in the West Bank, where the Palestinian Authority has acceded completely. Resistance, generally, throughout the history of Palestine, is the only thing that has stood in the face of the killing, genocidal Zionist project.
To call for the death of the IDF is tantamount to advocate a second Holocaust. No doubt they hadn't quite thought that through.
Definitely been told what to say.
But if you don't really know what you're talking about, it's probably best just to stay stumm, especially in matters of life or death. Mr. Robinson Foster also encouraged the audience to repeat the better-known mantra, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, which also implies...
It's so funny that this is allegedly one of the most esteemed journalists, and he has the same talking points as Hen Mazzig and the fucking Israeli embassy. Like, listen to this.
Extinction of Israel. Though again, among those who deploy it, it's not always clear they have a clue what they're talking about. When asked what river, one pro-Palestinian demonstrator volunteered the Euphrates. Another, when asked what sea, vouchsafed the Caribbean. Pro-Palestinian forces are sure of their...
Who cares? Maybe they're just struggling with geography like me.
Righteous stance. When it comes to geography, or history for that matter, perhaps not so much. For those so challenged, the river in question is the Jordan, the sea, the Mediterranean. In between lies Israel. If that is now to be free Palestine, then clearly Israel would no longer exist.
Good. Based. I don't like Israel. I don't like genocidal settler colonies that have nothing to do with being in the Middle East.
The BBC distributed Mr. Robinson Foster's rant far and wide by streaming it live on its iPlayer. That has provoked a second row, with some demanding the BBC be charged for disseminating hate speech. The BBC will now have to explain why it decided to stream Mr. RF live rather than as pre-recorded and suitably edited for broadcast, or if live, why not on a delay? And given none of that was in place, when they heard what he was saying, why did nobody pull the plug? Avon and Somerset Police are investigating Mr. Robinson Foster for hate speech. Inevitably, there are those saying that if people can be jailed for moronic tweets, as they have been, then he should be banged up too. I wouldn't hold your breath. Yesterday, we learned that the kneecap numpties will not be charged over a November 2023 video in which they said, quote, "The only good Tory is a dead Tory. Kill your local MP." Maybe the Twitter Sweeney would have been more resolute if they tweeted it.
Just reading out some fucking boring ass pre-prepared statement.
Kneecap followed Mr. Robinson Foster at Glasgow. We've come a long way from the...
Exactly. What were the tweets? Someone calling to burn asylum seekers to death. Not saying death to the IDF, calling to burn asylum seekers to death. Bit of a difference there, isn't there?
Summers of love in the 1960s, which kicked off the modern mania for pop festivals. Now they seem more blighted by hatred than uplifted by love. I was going to say that they sometimes seem to have more in common with the Nuremberg rally. But even the Nazis did not scream, "Death to the Jews, death to the Jews."
This guy is genuinely... I saw someone comment on this. By the way, there is literally an Israeli MP called Heike Grossman. I want to see if I can find it. Anyway, Heike Grossman, anyway, Heike Grossman, you can find this in, Tom Segev's, The Seventh Million. And what he talks about is how they said how death to Arabs is one word different to death to Jews. They did chant that.
At their rallies, even if they thought it, and that was their intention. At Glastonbury, a generation which wallows in woke, never had to don a uniform to defend its country, and whose idea of danger is to risk reading or seeing something that might trigger it, well...
I love how he's talking about people getting triggered, but then is getting triggered by someone saying death to a foreign military organisation. It's, you know, it's quite something. It's quite something. You know, quite something to listen to this man having a... Sorry, someone said Zoran Mamdani just officially won, but yeah. I mean, it's just, what a world we live in, eh? What a wonderful world this could be.
Paying a clear recognition shown over the...
So I wanted to... Here's Zoran Mamdani talking. So Zoran Mamdani won the mayoral primary in New York to represent the Democrats.
The course of this campaign, a clear recognition of the fact that police are critical to creating public safety across this city. And my proposal for the Department of Community Safety is one that was born out of my conversations with rank and file officers who have told me time and again their frustration with signing up to join the police force to tackle serious crimes and then being asked to play the roles of mental health professionals and social workers and fielding 200...
I've seen people condemn this, and I mean, I can understand why people might be like, oh, it's not the fix you'd want, because I do think the police should be defunded and completely removed as like an institution. But perhaps that should be a slow, progressive change towards it, and there should be massive accountability, and they should just not be allowed to like kill people, and you should move towards that kind of thing, I guess.
1,000 mental health calls a year. And ultimately, my desire is for the police to be able...
And also, when you're trying to articulate this on a platform where you can win in somewhere like New York, I guess that's why you moderate it, you know?
To focus on those serious crimes, to be able to do their jobs by stopping asking them to respond to nearly every failure of the social safety net. And that's why we have put forward this proposal to create a department that will tackle mental health crises, homelessness, victim services, hate crimes, gun violence, so that police can go back to those 7 major categories of crime we see in Compstat. Because ultimately, New Yorkers deserve to be safe. They deserve...
You think they can still manage to split the vote enough so the rep wins, or will it go on until there's a majority? What do you mean? What, in what context? Which one? Yeah, I mean, I guess it's because defund the police has such a bad tag with so many people, but yeah.
A police force that is able to focus on keeping them safe. And what we've seen is that in 2025, in the first quarter, 65% of crimes that were reported are yet to be solved. We need to make it easier for police to focus on solving those crimes. And I've been very clear, we're not defunding the police. We're sustaining the headcount of the police department and allowing them.
Did not want to.
There are some videos of Zoran Mamdani. There's one that I wanted to talk about for a while, which is like people calling this guy a Zionist. I don't view him as a Zionist, but I want to see if I can find the one.
They're what?
What do you say?
By the way, if you ever wanted to see, this is actually really interesting because this is what I wrote my dissertation about. I wrote it about these weirdos. Like, I didn't actually mention this guy, but if I go on to further it, I will actually talk about people like this. So Amjad Taha is an Israeli, an Emirati, a UAE propagandist. He works for the Emirati government, and what this guy will do is he's like an Emirati, and he's a Zionist, and what people like him do is they use their identity to basically say, well, I live in the Middle East. Like, he's like Ali Kalabon. He's like, well, the problems of the Middle East are a result of Islam. And just read this statement. It is a sad day. This man will turn churches into places where jihadists gather. It's like this guy is like a full-on propagandist for the Israeli a full-on propagandist for the entity. For the Israeli entity. He has old Arabic language tweets which he deleted. Does he? I mean, so I've seen Al Basham is saying that he's actively supported a genocidal sex offender organization. But should we really be surprised? This guy's a supporter of Israel. He is anti-Jewish, a Muslim, and fundamentally opposed to progress. It is a setback for him to become the mayor of New York City. This guy is just like and then let's look through his profile. Doesn't he just spend his time denying that they're doing anything wrong? Denying that Israel's doing wrong, and the same with him. Oh, here you go. So he's spending his time. So they're all having a meltdown, and they get Anwar Gargash, whose name I've also heard. Don't know enough about him, though. But they're upset because there was a really good piece in the New York Times, which is basically linked, and I was going to talk about this yesterday, but it has probably linked who is the worst man in football. Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan, an Emirati key figure who is a corrupt monster, but he's also got the blood of tens of thousands of Sudanese people on his hands, if not over 100,000. He has links to the RSF, and he is currently involved in British football. And you can hear me. You can hear me. Please don't say you can't hear me. But yeah, he's just like saying, the New York Times, without solid proof, no real evidence. Do you know what the proof is in the proof is in the article? You can actually look at it if you want in the New York Times article. The proof is American intelligence. Jesus Christ. Look at this. We, the majority that you won't see on CNN, BBC or Al Jazeera, Muslims and Arabs in the Middle East don't see Israel as the enemy. We don't trust and will never stand with the Islamic regime in Iran. It wasn't Israel, it was Iran that fired missiles at Mecca, the holiest site in Islam. It's Iran that has illegally occupied 3 UAE islands since 1971. You think Gaza is bad? You're out protesting for a cause you barely understand, trapped in trendy hashtags, and fed by the Muslim Brotherhood. Jesus. It's just ridiculous. Bin Zayed Mansour was the last person that Hemedti met. Yeah, I mean, doesn't surprise me. And he's still maintaining secret links with them. I'm doing a wet t-shirt contest, if any of you just witnessed that. Let me see how bad that looks on live. I'm just seeing if I can see it if I'm live, because I just spilt water all over myself. Yeah, it's quite funny. I've just done it again. But also, you know what's stupid about this argument is, hey, Iran occupied those islands when Iran occupied those islands under a secular dictatorship who you want to see come back. Oh, God, it's just crap. Wait, in Sudan, Iran sponsors and supports the Muslim Brotherhood-led army. By the way, this is what they're upset about as well. They're scared that there will be Islamists or people who even have tangential relationships with Islam because they want the Middle East to be ruled by dictators who lick the arse of Israel, who let the Emiratis kill and murder until they have dictators in every country. They act like the gods, the people who don't sow chaos. They portray Iran as as monsters. And yeah, the thing is that, like, you know, you kind of have this thing of, like, them saying these kind of things, whilst also they're the ones undeniably sponsoring genocide in Sudan. There's no lying about it. It's like, it's very clear. I mean, also, the UAE just shouldn't exist. The UAE is like Israel. It's a creation of the British Empire, basically. I think they were states in Oman. It came from what was once called the Trucial States, but Britain set it up. It's like no secret. Britain gave them their national anthems. Britain coddled it. Britain ruled over these places, nurtured them, and eventually withdrew when it was like no longer really viable for us to be there as our empire died, though. Yeah, exactly. And also, isn't it? I mean, Al-Bashar knows a lot more about me than this. I know more, like, tangential stuff about the UAE's role. It was a small part of my dissertation. But these are the ones sponsoring genocide. Like, whilst you're told, like, people like Ethan Klein tell you, yeah, we all know Iran are the baddies. We all know Iran are, like, the bad guys who we all have to, you know, we all must hate and we all must deal with. These are the people closest allied to America and Israel, and the things that they do are heinous. They are absolutely heinous and despicable, you know? It's just ridiculous. It's just utterly ridiculous, you know? I will not read any more Amjad Taha, because this guy's an idiot. And, right, now we want to talk about Gaza a bit, because I've been doing a lot of, like, news-ish stuff, but yeah.
And over 100 other organisations operating in Gaza have called for an immediate end to the joint Israel.
What, Nizar Banat? What, the guy who was murdered in the West Bank? Is that who you're talking about? I didn't. I've read, Edward Said's sister is the one who I've read the most. Rosemary Zahlan Said. Her work on the Gulf states is very good, and I like it, yeah. And I'd recommend that as well. I can't remember what it's called. It's like her big book on the Gulf states from 1971, maybe. The creation, making of the modern Gulf states is, I think, what it's called. Yeah, she didn't actually write all that much, but yeah.
Israeli-US aid distribution scheme in Gaza. They say the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation should now be replaced by the UN-led operation. 400 aid distribution points operating during the temporary ceasefire across Gaza have now been replaced by just 4 military-controlled distribution sites, which they say forces 2 million people into...
Yeah. Zahlan Said. Yeah. That's how you spell it. That is how you spell it.
Overcrowded, militarised zones where they face daily gunfire.
Tyler Oakley derangement syndrome has taken over. Even Sky News now employs Tyler Oakley. But, like, just think about this. When I had the debate with that Zionist girl... Like, think about what she was... oh, I've accidentally just got rid of all of my things. Sorry. Sorry, someone messaged me. Apparently I'm getting... Wait, how did I just see that? Hold on, there was something I just saw that I wanted to see on TikTok. Hold on. For once I actually saw what I needed to see. But yeah, like, that Zionist girl was saying shit yesterday, like, oh, it's not true that they've killed anyone. This is actually all Hamas. It's just not true. It's just not true. I actually have a link to all of that debate, so maybe I could upload it.
Said the following in a statement. Today, Palestinians in Gaza face an impossible choice: starve or risk being shot, while desperately trying to reach food to feed their families.
You won't be able to find that debate. I mean, I have it here.
Street Journal.
Could go through it one day. We could do it. Well, I could go through it. It's not actually that long. The stream was longer than I thought it was, but yeah. It's not uploaded. that can tag people. Wait, is it only people with with tags next to their name, with stars next to their name, that can tag people? I don't think that's true.
The weeks following the launch of the Israeli distribution scheme have seen some of the deadliest and most violent since October 2023. In less than 4 weeks, more than 500 Palestinians have been killed and almost 4,000 injured just trying to access or distribute food. Israeli forces and armed groups, some reportedly operating with backing from Israeli authorities.
Well, I mean, it's not reported. Israel, and what's also mad about this is Israel first denied to have any involvement in this. Israel first claimed that they had nothing to do with this organization. That this organization was set up by America. Israel literally intentionally sought to distance themselves, and then they just started massacring people, huge amounts of them.
Now routinely open fire on desperate civilians.
But yeah, like they're still massacring innocent people. Like they're still massacring innocent people in Gaza every single day. They're like blowing. They like attacked a cafe the other day. I'll see if there's anyone reporting on it. I can't show videos because they're really graphic. Look at this. Witnesses, it was a beautiful cafe. Witnesses and rescuers say at least 20 Palestinians were killed, frequently used by activists, journalists and local residents in western Gaza City, according to medics and eyewitnesses. Why was this done? You can literally read it from the title. You can literally read it. They were journalists and they were people who, you know, were working against the Israeli these were people working against the Israeli genocide, charging their phones, using the internet. The Israeli military later said it struck several Hamas terrorists in northern Gaza and that it was reviewing the incident. I've heard that apparently a son of the Jabalia commander of Hamas was killed there, but it's just like, hey, this is far worse than anything Bob Villain have done. Like, Bob Villain may have chanted these things, you know, but, like, how is this even comparable? Like, how dare you talk about these two things in the same breath, you know? Like, Israel is killing huge amounts of people, and this is openly known. This has been known for, this has openly been known. And, I mean, here's what the Israeli foreign minister has to say.
In the past 24 hours, 70 people reported to have been killed in strikes, many of them at that beachside cafe. What steps have been taken to avoid innocent...
Especially in northern Gaza, I assume. Like, most places in northern Gaza don't have internet or Wi-Fi, but just internet or electricity.
...people being killed in the ongoing war.
So the first thing, I'll be very careful in reporting unverified reports. This reports come straight from the mouth of a terrorist organization, Hamas, from Hamas's Ministry of Health.
Specifically on these distribution centers, there's been reporting in the Israeli newspaper Haaretz that says IDF soldiers were told to shoot at people waiting for food at these sites. Why was that order being given by commanders to soldiers?
Well, first of all, I'll be careful with things that Haaretz is actually writing about. This is a very extreme left-wing newspaper who...
By the way, this is the exact same argument that what's-her-name made. This is all... I genuinely think that there is like someone or something. Someone's used to speak about this, that there's some kind of like debate guideline given out to Zionists, and one of the things is to like attack this and say the same things. I'll show you the debate. I'll go through it at some point on a live on here. Maybe we could do a reaction to all my debates. History Revealed, my man, my beautiful boy. History Revealed, such a good man. But yeah, also, by the way, IDF officials said that in shelling near aid distribution. Dozens of civilians were wounded and some killed. While the IOF chief says the army's Gaza offensive is nearing its goals, a senior official believes it should continue. So this is just them talking about how, and even then they don't fully admit what they're doing. You know, but they are just massacring innocent civilians.
Haaretz is an extreme left-wing newspaper.
Oh yeah, it is a extreme left-wing newspaper.
17,000 children have died in Gaza since the Hamas attacks of October the 7th and the Israeli response. Now, just on the shootings at distribution sites, and may I just
Hamas attacks, Israeli response.
First about the number that you said, which is exaggerated, and you know from research.
How many children have been killed?
That was
then?
published not by Israel,
how
but
many
a
children have
British
been killed?
organization. How that these numbers are inflatable.
Do you have a number? As to how
These numbers are inflatable.
many children have been killed?
Look, there isn't a war that is clean. There isn't a war where children were not killed, unfortunately.
But by the way, the death toll in Syria, I've done this before. Look at the number of children that were killed in Syria in comparison to the numbers of the death toll. There is a really, really clear difference between... There is a really clear difference between this and what's happening here. And that doesn't diminish, like, people being killed in Syria and these kind of things. You know?
A war is a thing. It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing that we never wanted.
As we
Sorry, there you go. They will just kill and massacre and they will be allowed to do it because this is what Israel is. It is a genocidal settler colony that will consistently do these kind of things for as long as it is allowed, and it has been allowed to do these things for far too long. But yeah, like on this, let's not read BBC. Fuck the BBC. Let's see if anyone else is reporting on this that I would actually like to read. Middle East Eye. I'd rather read Middle East Eye. Fuck BBC. Fuck the genocidal piggies. An Israeli airstrike targeting a cafe. Images and videos. So we've seen the images and videos. Gaza's government media office said in a statement that Palestinian photojournalist Ismail Abu Hattab was among those killed in the attack. It added that Hattab had worked for a number of media platforms and organised several photo exhibitions about Gaza outside Palestine. I haven't covered that. Maybe I will. You know you're stretching your credibility when Sky News is annoyed by you. Well, I mean, I think the thing is they'll feign annoyance and then we'll still have to hear from all of these news outlets about how it's, like, acceptable what it, about how, like, it's unacceptable what Bob Villain did and some, like, all of these things, you know?
Many Jews listening.
Like, and by the way, here's a legal expert apparently talking about this. Just
and therefore,
finish
for
up
many
on this.
Jews listening to this programme, to say death to the IDF is equivalent to saying death to Jews.
Yeah, I mean, with that sort of offence, you've got to prove whether he knew someone in the audience was Jewish and that they might be harassed by him saying that. Now, if he knew that there was a bunch of Jews in the audience and he thought, well, I'm going to demonstrate my hostility towards them, and it'd be terrifying, I think, to be one of a small number of Jews in an audience facing that sort of mass chanting, then that could amount to an offence. And obviously, calling for the death of any group of human beings is an extraordinary thing to do, an extraordinary thing to happen at a festival.
God, you could send them to me, and I'll have a look at them. But this, the tweets, but like just calling for the death of a genocidal terror organization is just very, very, very different to calling to the death of people. Oh shit, sorry.
As I say, in order to prove it's a crime, you've got to show a little bit more. Either that he intended generally that the Brits would rise up against the Jews, or that people in the audience who might be Jewish would therefore be harassed. And I think that's going to be the challenge for the police.
I'm hearing scepticism, Jonathan. I'm hearing someone say, I'm not at all sure that this is likely to cross the evidential bar. Is that right?
That is right. And I think we do have to remember, I mean, it's a horrible, horrible thing that happened, but I haven't got to remember it was a relatively short episode during a band performance. And I think that villain and those people who then carried out the chants, it's probably going to be on their consciences.
I don't think it will be. I mean, I've had enough of him. He's just as much of an idiot. But yeah. Right, here we go. Journalist Bayan Abu Sultan was wounded in the strike, although her condition is currently unknown, according to Wafa. Gaza journalist Belal Khaled shared images on social media of Abu Sultan with blood spattered across her face and torso. The toll include, according to Al Jazeera, at least 80 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks across Gaza since dawn on Monday. The toll includes 57 Palestinians in northern Gaza and 15 aid seekers near distribution hubs. Like, you just heard that thing about that fucking idiot Andrew Neil going, "That's a shameful Jew hatred. That's a shameful, and you're hating the Jews. You're being really mean to the Jews." Really? Is that what this is, you know? Is this really what this is, you know? Like, it seems very ridiculous when this is the reality, when there are 15 aid seekers killed yesterday, and plus a huge amount of, but, like, this is what British media has been, yeah. This is just what British media and politics is. It's just shit. We just have to continue justifying this whilst this is what's happening in Gaza. I mean, there's another one. PC Explosion Inc. Oh, this article. Okay, here we go. While waiting to enter Gaza on a medical aid mission, an American doctor watched Israeli security forces confiscate the cans of powdered baby formula packed in his luggage. The vital product is desperately lacking in the Palestinian enclave. Just children and babies are being starved to death. You know? People are being starved to death, and this is just the crap that is on British news. Andrew Neil just doing, like, saying crap about what's happening, about how it's anti-Semitic to talk about these things, about how saying death to the IDF. I don't give a fuck. Death to the IDF. You shouldn't be allowed to do genocide. It is totally unacceptable, immoral, and unjust. There is no way to sit there and justify this. I mean, compare what's going on. Compare this level of statement to this.
What he said about the, death to anyone. And chance of death to anyone is not welcome in our society. But there was something particularly pernicious about chanting death to the IDF.
It was particularly pernicious about chanting death to the IDF. It's like...
Apparently.
It's like, what is particularly pernicious about chanting death to the IDF?
Many colleagues will know that in Israel there is a conscription model. Every young person is required to serve in the IDF, which means that chanting death to the IDF is equivalent to calling for the death of every single Israeli Jew. That is why, one of the many reasons why we take this so seriously, and why it cannot be argued that this did not cross a very dangerous line.
It's just like, what a very dangerous line whilst people are being starved, and that's the dangerous line. Like, babies are being intentionally starved. Hold on, I'll archive PH this. Fucking hell, the PC and the Wi-Fi are struggling. But it's just like somber fucking crying statement about how there's a dangerous world for Jewish people. And it's just like... I have to sit here and just say, like, what is this? What is this? Like, what actually is this, you know?
Standing in the breach here. And...
where was I looking for? Sorry, I was archiving PHing this article. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, I've seen this story. So an American doctor was basically denied bringing in baby formula, gauze, bandages, and sanitary pads. He believed he was doing the right thing. The Palestinian population of the enclave, bombarded and starved by the Israeli army, lacks everything. While in Amman, a mandatory gathering point for foreign medical missions heading to Gaza, the coordinator of the convoy, Palestinian-German ophthalmic surgeon Diana Nazal, urged him to lighten his load. If you only have medical supplies and no personal belongings, you risk being turned away or even jeopardizing the whole mission. Like, listen to that. That's jeopardizing the mission, daring to bring medical supplies to people that Israel is denying them to. And it's just like, God, this is just the point we're at, you know. It's just like, you know, on one side you have people who are like denying babies formula and all of these things, and then on the other side you have like people who are in Bob Villain and we're getting like stern statements. Imagine if they were talking about sending Israelis. They should talk about sending all Israelis to prison. Anyone who has served in the Israeli military, anyone who visits there regularly is genocidal. You know, like they go and support not everyone who visits. I suppose there are some who have family who are going to visit their family, and so it's not fair to say that they are, you know, all in support of the genocide. I'm sure that there are some small minority with that who don't hold these beliefs. But like, yeah, just also like this is. I wanted to listen to this anyway because I saved this to listen to and react to live. This is Martin Shaw talking about this.
Side that we see today is being committed not just by the Israeli state and the Israeli army. It seems to me there is a larger perpetrator block. This seems to be a useful idea to think about the perpetrators and the way they are linked together, because it isn't just these most obvious core actors. In some ways, this is what we could call a democratic genocide, carried out with the active contributions of the Israeli Jewish population in arms, of Israeli right-wing activists who have stood at the borders of...
It's also, I wouldn't say that you should also call these people. I think you should talk about these people who are, you know, who are online doing these who are online defending Israel. Like that Zionist girl. I know she's American, but she should be held to account for the stuff she says. But like also, by the way, just look at the chief rabbi of the UK. There's a lot of people who have to answer this question. I was heartbroken to learn of the death of Sergeant Natan Rosenfeld, a young man from the IOF 601st Combat Engineering Battalion who grew up in London. Natan grew up in Hendon before making Aliyah with his family. A decision rooted in a deep love for Israel and the Jewish people that he gave his life in defense of both is a source of immense pain, but also a lasting honor. We mourn his loss with his parents, Avi and Sam, his family, and all of those who knew and loved him. May his memory be a blessing, a man who and may we soon see the day no more families will endure such sorrow. And I mean, Cage International has a point here. Like, why are you allowing British citizens to go off and do genocide? Like, why is that a thing? You know? Let's just have a look at what he might have been doing. Shooting at random innocent people. Oh, blowing up people's houses. Oh, okay. Playing in people's houses, blowing them up. But don't worry, it's the slogans that we should worry about. I'm just checking out. Here's... Killing in the name of... just eviscerating people's lives and homes. Like, this is... And this is, like, who we should apparently be, like, feeling sorry for, who people want to be a protected class. So many have fueled this genocide, and I would argue that, you know, by posting stuff like this, where you basically, you know, where you basically are like justifying, sorry, where you are doing things where you are like basically justifying and supporting the genocide, you know, by telling people that their memories were a blessing when they die during genocide.
Gaza and tried to block even the little bits of aid which the Israeli state has been prepared to allow through at times. And it's a genocide which has been supported ideologically and practically by a very large segment of Israeli society, by the political opposition, by most of the media, and by the...
I think that this is also just, of course, I mean, Martin Shaw is like an expert in genocide. Someone tried to discredit Martin Shaw by being like, you said it was a genocide before October the 7th, and he just stood on business. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. Like, who blames him for standing on business? Like, they did who cares? Like, honestly. Sorry, one of the old lecturers at Exeter posted something quite funny. So someone posted, Bella Wallersteiner posted this.
As a Zionist, I would not feel welcome at Glastonbury Festival has received a quick video because my tweet saying that as a Zionist, I would not feel welcome at Glastonbury Festival has received quite a bit of pushback. I completely stand by it, having seen content from the festival. There are very clear anti-Israel sentiment on display.
Yeah, fuck Israel.
It's also pretty apparent that some pretty extreme and radical views are being given a platform. I think it's quite depressing that it's...
And he said John McCain probably felt unsafe in Harlem with that racist sign, which is always a TikTok clip I see, which is like, I don't know what film it's from. John McClane. Is it from... John McClane is like... which Die Hard is it? So he wears a sign saying, I hate N-words.
Vast majority of public...
And, like, I think it's quite an apt comparison. Like, Israel justifies killing people, you know? Sees Palestinians as scum and all, so...
Opinion. So in this sense, it is... I've called it a democratic genocide. Israel isn't by any means a perfect democracy, even for Jews. But nevertheless, I think you get what I mean there. The other thing about it is that it's an international genocide. It's being carried out with the essential support of the...
Daryl Barnett, I know this and I don't know how to fix it. I have a loud voice and I'm not quite sure how to fix this kind of stuff. I don't know, I need some help with my streaming setup a bit.
United States, which of course now is in a direct partnership under Trump with Netanyahu to complete the genocide with the project of forcible removal of the whole population from the territory, although we don't know yet whether they will be able to achieve that or how. And this is an international genocide also in the sense that there has been the active support of most of the rest of the West. The state and civil society and media in most Western countries most of the time, including, of course, particularly in the United Kingdom. And I'll come back to this in a moment. But I also want to talk about the consequences of Gaza. I gave the title for this talk of the genocide which changed the world. And I did that because studying genocides in general and more comparatively, I'm very well aware that unfortunately many genocides, if you think of in places like Myanmar or Sudan or Ethiopia, these do not change the world. They change for the worse the lives of hundreds of thousands or millions of people, but they don't change the world, they don't change the international politics. But this genocide in Gaza is changing the world and has changed the world.
It's quite an interesting way to talk about it because I think he is right, you know, so many genocides. There's a really good quote by, I can't remember who it's by, but they say that the problem with, they say that the problem with the slogan, never again, is that it's been time and time again. You know, and that kind of, I think, is a very apt description, that it has been time and time again. There's not been never again. There has just been genocide after genocide after genocide, and they continually go ignored. And this case of Gaza is people pointing to a genocide. And I know other genocides rage on around the world in places like Sudan, in places like Congo and all these places. But the Gaza one is people the Gaza one has a lot of attention, and I think that most people who understand genocide recognize, or what's happening in the world, recognize that as a good thing, because more attention on this genocide serves to show the people who are complicit in it. I would say that one of the things that I would say is very important, and I would like people to understand better, is that one of the key parts of this genocide is also places like the UAE across the Middle East, and we shouldn't ignore countries like this. We shouldn't ignore countries like the UAE who do these kind of things. And yeah, sorry, it is Die Hard 3. Thank you. Never again. More like next Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, with Gaza, you know, literally, it's just never again is just let's do it every day is what Israel has reached the point of. I mean, Al Jazeera is claiming the death toll is about to cross 100 today. They say 98 Palestinians killed in Gaza. And you know what's crazy? We don't even see it anymore because Israel's cut off internet in northern Gaza. Yeah. Palestine Action is now set to be banned. Sad. Palestine Action is being banned because they're one of the people working against the genocide. It's also one being perpetrated by a people weaponizing the very phrase never again. Exactly. The Israeli society has weaponized never again to basically mean that there should be anything, that they should just be constantly allowed to do genocide.
It's clearly...
you know, that Israel should be allowed to just do genocide because they should. Because they're... Like, even apparently the IOF protects people from a second Holocaust. And it's like, how does it protect from a second Holocaust? How is that possible? Major success of Palestinians has been their ability to internationalize. Yeah, Palestinians have long been good at internationalizing it. They're very highly educated, and they also had a lot of very competent English speakers. The worst part about the Palestinian struggle, though, is that the best English speakers were all killed off by the state of Israel. Israel killed off the best Palestinian speaker, I think, in Ghassan Kanafani, the best Palestinian speaker and writer, you know. I genuinely think he was, probably, especially in English. But yeah, it's I don't know.
Is located near.
I guess the final thing is Trump is now like the stream, Yule. Indeed, like the stream. Props for trying to help me get Chris's attention. Who wanted to get my attention? What do you need my attention about? I don't have the Discord open on my PC at the moment. What do you need my attention for? Let me know. The worst is worsening. Indeed. I got to give it up to Hania. Which Hania? Yeah, the final thing is Trump. Trump, Elon Musk. What? Why do you need my attention? What's going... Territory's nothing to help you with text stream. I know he has, but obviously, sorry, I've been very busy the last few days, and I'm currently working on a new YouTube video. Because that's kind of also my focus. But yes, I will talk to Terratrove. I will talk to him. I know I've been doing it. I'm incredibly grateful for all the help. I'm sorry, it's just obviously I was streaming a lot and kind of getting into the groove. But also, normally I'm done with streaming because, as I've said, my girlfriend is here. So I kind of just end up spending a lot of time with her as well. And she's not always here, so, yeah.
Criminals that came into the, you know, little controversial.
So Trump's been on a mad one today.
But I couldn't care less. We have a lot of bad criminals that came into this country, and they came in stupidly. It was an unforced error.
I do read the comments. It's just hard. I find it hard to read them all and watch and flick around.
It was an incompetent president that allowed it to happen. It was an auto pen maybe that allowed it to happen, and it did happen. But we also have a lot of bad people that have been here for a long time. People that whack people over the head with a baseball bat.
Why does he have to describe it in such bizarre terms? People who whack other people over the head with a baseball bat.
From behind when they're not looking and kill them. People that knife you when you're walking down the street. They're not new to our country. They're old.
Who talks shit on Twitter? Who are you talking about?
To our country. Many of them were born in our country. I think we ought to get them the hell out of here too. You want to know the truth. So maybe that'll be the next job that we'll work on together.
No, he's talking about deporting citizens, and so I want to close quickly. Owen Jones has this is Owen Jones' tweet. Unfortunately, we are now going to have to make a principled defense of Elon Musk. The president is threatening to deport a US citizen with migrant heritage because of a political disagreement is an outrage. He's also not going to deport him. Right, sorry, we're gonna have to. This is really hard to hear, so you're gonna have to bear with me. You're gonna have to read the subtitles.
But we're going to talk about that. I don't know. I think we'll have to take a look. We might have to put Doge on Elon. You know what Doge is? Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible?
So strange. Really want the resource list, but people really want the resource list. I get you have a life. Yeah, sorry, it's just been a busy time, like between sickness and being away. I need to get back into the groove of like content creation stuff. It's an odd thing, and I always find it odd. And I'm always just like doing, I'm also like researching and reading and making videos. So yeah, you just can't hear him.
He gets a lot of subsidies, Peter. But Elon's very upset that the EV mandate is going to be terminated. And you know what? When you look at it, not everybody wants an electric car. I don't want an electric car. I want to have maybe gasoline, maybe electric.
Also, I think Trump's losing it. I want to have baby gasoline baby, electric baby, or whatever he just said.
Maybe a hybrid. Maybe someday a hydrogen. If you have a hydrogen car, it has one problem. It blows up, So I'm going to...
What? Every car's problem is it blows up.
Give that one to Peter.
I would say every car's problem would be that it could blow up. I wouldn't say it's a brilliant thing for any car to blow up, but when it comes to someone like this, I think I think the guy's losing it. But Elon had an interesting response. Elon's tweets. I have Elon muted on Twitter, but the stuff he tweets is really, really stupid. Okay, what's he saying? Elon Musk knew long before he so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. It is ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history, and without subsidies, Elon probably would have to close up shop and head back to home to South Africa. No more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good hard look at this. Big money to be saved. Very funny writing, but yeah. Trump should vape. Well, I recently found out that there's lead in vapes, so maybe Trump has been vaping too much. He said that Owen Jones said that they should launch a principled defense of him, so he shouldn't be deported. No. I know what he's saying. I know what Owen Jones is saying. I think it's also semi a joke. I'm not too fussed what becomes of Elon Musk, but Bannon is going back to prison this time for a long time. Why did Steve Bannon go to prison? I'm guessing it's financial fraud. Oh, contempt of Congress. So it was refused to comply with a subpoena for the from the January 6th. So it's January 6th stuff. And then finally, one last Elon tweet, and then I'm going to end it. So Elon said in response to this, so tempting to escalate this. It looks like the girls might be fighting again. It looks like they might be fighting, but who knows, really? I don't think they're really fighting all that much. I think it's just a spectacle, I think Elon doesn't have as much power or clout as he wants because he kind of has the same problem as all these Silicon Valley freaks, which is whenever he appears on camera or tries to do anything public, he comes across as incredibly weird. He comes across as like this guy who's like very unlikable and such. Alright guys, I am going to end it there. I kind of need to go. I'm going to go see 28 Years Later. Thank you all for watching. I won't be live tomorrow. I'll be live on when will I be live? I'll be live on, I don't know, maybe Thursday, failing that Friday. I'm working on some videos, so yeah, there should be a video out soon. I hope you have a good rest of the day.